Probably, I think Bayo Onanuga should now teach us how to play the politics of labor for a government that reneges on their promises. Probably he should tell us why the government didn't pay the wage award all this while. And when Labour said they were going to go on strike, all of a sudden they started paying that money. Maybe there are many things he will have to teach us. I mean, he's very vast in labor matters. So he should teach us about a very untrustworthy government and how they don't meet their own demands. Because probably if they met their own demands, Labour will not be going on strike. They had a 16-point demand since last year, and the government did not meet their demands. And now Bayo is another guy saying they can't play politics. Maybe Bayo Onanuga should also tell us more how the government went to arm twist Labour at the back and threatened Labour. And that's why they called off the strike after one day, because that was what Joe Ajero claimed. Maybe the government should tell us more about the threat for people's fundamental right to be able to go on protest.
Okay, anyway, that being said, I would have loved to touch on one other story that has to do with Bayo, but I'll keep that for the last. But let's talk about the president. Yesterday, the president, visited Ondo, Akure. He met with Ayede Atiwa, the governor of the state, and some other governors, Ekiti State's governor as well. And he made a remark while visiting, the leader of the Pan-Yoruba group, Afenifere. He actually said this, that he's taking full responsibility for all the problems in the country, and of course he has promised Nigerians that the country will recover. What do you have to say about the president's statement?
Jimmy, that will take responsibility for the problems in the country, but he has to take responsibility. The box stops with him. There's no big deal about what he said. He's the leader of the country. The box stops with him. If the country is not well run, he will take responsibility. Any good times that happens in the country, he will take responsibility. So for the fact that the leader says, "Oh, I'm taking responsibility for my job," so should we now clap for him? I say, thank you for taking responsibility. I mean, those things are no brainers. I mean, let's move on to the
matter. We barely see leaders, especially in this climate, take responsibility for their actions. So at least is this not a good start for President Tinubu?
So does it make it right or delusional that a leader that caused the problem takes responsibility? Is this something we should celebrate? A leader that didn't think through a problem and caused more hardship for the people? Because he's saying he's taking responsibility now, we should roll out the drums. Oh yeah, let me roll out the drums. Thank you.
But sincerely speaking,
thank you.
But
President Tinubu for taking responsibility. Thank you.
But sincerely speaking, aside him making that statement, we've seen him try to put things in place. We understand that it seemed like the president started his administration on the wrong footing, but he has tried to do all he can to redeem that in the past couple of months. And part of it is the Orosai report, which we saw him try to implement, or he has said he's going to implement, of which, in 2022, you also put out the statement that subsequent administration after Buhari should consider implementing that particular report. But right now, even the same report, you are very pessimistic about it.
I'll tell you more about that statement. Very good. Because the Orosai report has been politicized, just like President Tinubu, to a large extent, is politicizing the Orosai reports too now. Two other administrations implemented the same Orosai report to no avail. Because it's been politicized. And that's why I put that word. You must implement the Orosai report. Announcing to implement it is not going to work. Implementing it must be a benchmark. Because things have shifted since that time. Today you have over 1,000 government agencies as against 541. The report itself is even obsolete as we speak today. And secondly, you put it under the
But was it not obsolete even as at 2022 when you made that remark?
Wait a minute. Because it's a benchmark. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you.
The Orosai report is a benchmark for cutting cost of governance. That's why the other committees that looked at it put a white paper and they approved implementation, which nothing happened. And let me tell you why it is a smoke screen President Tinubu has put out again, and I'll prove it to you. You want to implement the Orosai report, you have a retinue of special advisors. Why can't you start by cutting those ones? Why, when you don't need any legal representative to cut them? You've gone ahead now, you're taking your son and 38 other people to travel with you to Qatar after you said you were going to take just few number of people. Thirdly, you cannot, go and write this down, and I'll bet you on it. You cannot implement that report in 12 weeks. that 12-week timeline, it shows a lack of understanding of what is going on. You have to deal with the ministries, you have to deal with labor, you have to deal with the political will to be able to get it done. You have to not deal with the National Assembly, because most of those establishments are created on National Assembly. These are the empirical facts at which we talk. We don't just talk. So when the brigade goes on Twitter and says, Rufai, you talked about the Rufai report in 2022. It's a very shallow argument. Because what I'm saying is that this report has been implemented on 2 occasions, and there were a lot of bottlenecks that there was no political will to go through. So announcing that in the midst of hardship, after you have a bloated cabinet in the first place, doesn't mean you are serious about it, with due respect. If President Tinubu was serious about it, why have close to 50 ministers in the first place? You bloated the cost of governance in the first place, and you want to now cut it now. So when a brigade goes to dig out tweets and say, Rufai said this in the past, you as a person that should use your empirical number 6 to think of why somebody said this and the point I was trying to make. And you will see it play out. Just like I said last year, that they were going to reverse to a fixed exchange rate. Is that what they are doing today? To save the Naira? I don't just talk, I'm sorry, with due respect. This is close to 20 years of experience speaking in matters of states and national public analysis.
All right, Rufai, it's interesting that you brought up the list of delegates traveling with the president, looking at Sheyi and Yinka Tinubu following the president to travel to Qatar, amidst the hunger and hardship in Nigeria. Is there a way that we can hold, politicians to their words? Because we saw the president make a statement that he was going to cut down on delegates traveling outside the country, and then, within Nigeria, he gave a stipulated number of individuals who can travel with him. And some of the arguments that we've been hearing are very, very watery, at best, saying that, okay, the president wants to take his children along with him to experience governance, how governance is done internationally and all that, admits what is going on. So is there a way to hold the president and politicians accountable for some of the things that they've said?
I mean, it shows you how much will they have to cut the Rufai report when they can't cut the shenanigans in presidency first. With due respect, I don't think all of these overly bloated Twitter speakers for the presidency, I think most of them should be let go of their jobs. Because all they do is they come to make a lot of unfounded arguments. That's what they do. How can somebody be saying that, oh, look at what the Americans are doing, look at what the British are doing, look at what other countries are doing, that they take their own people along? The question is, why can't we copy Argentina, where the president flies business class as the national carrier? Why can't we copy those ones? Why is it all of the wrong things we copy in this country? For those that want to cut the Rufai report, President Tinubu, hope you know, took ways and means of close to 7 trillion since he got in. This was the same man that took a supplementary budget. Part of it was to buy cars for the National Assembly and spend it in a frivolous way. Is that one ready to cut the cost of government? And somebody throws an hypocritical smoke screen, we call it up. People say, oh, you talked about the Rufai report back in the days. Is that one ready to cut the cost of government? Ask him to start by telling us how much, how did he spend that 7 trillion? What did he spend it on? He increased the money of the National Assembly. The National Assembly started to put frivolous projects like building a library. All of a sudden, the National Assembly remembers they don't have a library. That's going to cost about 12 billion. He wants to cut the cost of government. They are going ahead to build a new house for the vice president. Did the vice president say he doesn't have a place to stay? These are the people that want to cut the cost of government. A lot of frivolous waste across board.
And Mr. Rufai, at the moment, I mean, newsmen have learned that, Sheyi and his brother Yinka, they've accompanied the president on virtually every foreign trip. And then we saw reports last year where Sheyi was also using the presidential jet. Sometime in October last year, he used the jet, one of the jets in the presidential fleet, to go on a private trip to Kano State to watch a polo tournament. I mean, with his friends, using taxpayers' monies for frivolous for frivolous, different frivolous things.
There goes the cutting of the cost of government. That's why you see I keep saying these things. It's just blatant hypocrisy.
Okay.
See, let me tell you something. The job of the government is to push forward their own narrative. The job of the media, a strong media, not a media that is coward, is to be able to push back with empirical. That's why I'm giving you facts on this matter. This government is a high spending government. Very high spending government.
As opposed to the Buhari's
Very
administration.
high spending government. Oh, Buhari's administration took a lot of loans, but the way this government has gone, okay, Buhari administration in the last how many years? And the last over 4 years, be hearing, took ways and means of 23 trillion. That's what they said. In 6 months, this government has taken 7 trillion in ways and means. In 6 months.
But it seems like it's a record for subsequent administration to surpass the record of the previous administration. So some of us, it's not shocking to see
No. So the truth is when that same person now tells you he's now looking for Rufai reports to be able to shut people down a day before a national strike, it's just being hypocritical.
Okay.
See,
so it was more of a small screen for Nigerians, just a distraction.
Yes, wait. If President Tinubu had come in and say, guys, on inauguration, we need to tighten up our belt. So even me, I will take cuts. I will take ministerial cuts. Please, I know there's a need for federal character, but can you just permit me to have like 30 ministers? Because we need to cut a lean cabinet and all of that. Can you permit me to have this? Can you permit me to have that? And then you show it. Imagine, see, have you got to check the list of those that speak for government? You have PA photography, essay photography. You have PA new media, essay social media. I mean, you have all sorts of positions. And I'm like, is this how high the level of jobless you guys?
Okay. Anyway, let's not overflog this one.
Able-bodied men wake up in the morning and all they do is to tweet. I mean, they should go and get a job, and that's why we say if the private sector is working, most of the people that is government, they should be working in the private sector.
So
that's the real sector of the economy.
Okay, let's move away from.
We should start by cutting all of that first. That's what we are saying.
Okay, and let's talk about the recent reports, that became popular yesterday, especially on social media, and that's